The path of the ultimate samurai. The samurai's blade had barely cooled from the slaughter at dawn when he was summoned. A lord's emissary, dressed in fine silks, found him by the river, washing the blood from his hands. Word of his ferocity, his impossible speed, had spread like wildfire. The emissary spoke of a powerful lord, one who valued strength and rewarded it handsomely. He promised the samurai honor, a rank he could be proud of, and most importantly, loyalty, a place to belong. For a man weary of wandering alone, a ghost haunted by the echoes of a life he once had, the offer was a flicker of light in an endless dark. He believed that perhaps, in service to another, he could finally rebuild what had been so violently torn away. And so, he accepted. For a time, it was everything he'd been promised. The fortress walls felt like a shield, not a cage. There was camaraderie, a warmth he hadn't felt in years. Soldiers, young and old, laughed beside him as they shared rice and sake under the moonlight. They clapped him on the shoulder, their eyes filled with respect, not fear. They spoke of battles yet to come, not as grim duties, but as shared trials that would forge them into brothers. He listened to their stories of home, of wives and children, of dreams that stretched beyond the battlefield. Slowly, cautiously, the ice around his heart began to thaw. He allowed himself to trust. He allowed himself to hope. But trust, he would soon learn, is a lesson the world teaches with brutal repetition. It is a weapon far sharper than any blade, and when it turns against you, it cuts far deeper, leaving a wound that no medicine can heal. The first sign was subtle, a whisper carried on the wind, a change in the way the captain looked at him, a shared glance between two guards that quickly broke when he approached. The easy laughter that once included him now fell silent when he entered the barracks. He dismissed it as paranoia, the lingering shadow of his past. He was a valued warrior, was he not? His sword had won them their last 3 skirmishes with barely a scratch on their own men. Why would they turn on him now? But the whispers grew louder, twisting his name into something sinister. Demon, they called him, behind his back. A butcher who delights in slaughter. The very ferocity the Lord had sought him out for was now being used as a weapon against him. The soldiers who had shared their sake with him now averted their eyes, their camaraderie replaced with a cold, fearful suspicion. The betrayal, when it came, was not on the battlefield. It was in the dead of night, not with a clash of steel, but with the quiet click of a lock. He was summoned to the Lord's private chambers under the pretense of a new mission. The room was empty, save for the Lord himself, standing by a brazier, his face cast in flickering shadow. The Lord spoke of a threat within the castle walls, a traitor who sought to undermine him. He praised the samurai's loyalty, his unmatched skill, and then he pointed a finger. The doors burst open, and the captain of the guard stood there, his sword drawn, flanked by the very men the samurai had called brothers. Their faces were a mixture of fear and grim determination. "Seize the traitor," the Lord commanded, his voice echoing in the sudden, suffocating silence. It was a masterfully crafted lie. The samurai, the outsider, the fearsome warrior with no ties, was the perfect scapegoat for the Lord's own political scheming. In that moment, the samurai saw it all with chilling clarity. The shared smiles, the stories, the promises of Honoret. It was all a performance, a carefully constructed stage to lure him into a trap. His trust had been the key to his own cage. He looked at the faces of the men he had fought alongside. He saw no malice, only the blind obedience of soldiers following orders. They were not his enemies, they were pawns, just as he had been. The true enemy was the man who moved the pieces, the Lord who smiled as he sacrificed them. The warmth he had felt was a phantom, and the hope he had nurtured was now a bitter poison in his veins. The world had taught him its lesson once more. Loyalty is a currency for the powerful, and for the lone wolf, there is no pack, only a hunt. And he was, once again, the prey. The night air was thick, heavy with the scent of pine and something else. Something metallic, a blood-red moon hung in the sky, a wounded eye staring down at the sleeping world. It cast long, dancing shadows through the trees, making the familiar samurai encampment feel alien, hostile. Inside one of the tents, whispers slithered like snakes in the dark. They were quiet, but their decree from a heart soured by envy. The samurai, the one they called the Silent Blade, was to be silenced. His legend, forged in 100 battles, had grown too bright. It cast a shadow so long, it now eclipsed the very lord he served. He awoke not to the gentle call of the morning bird, but to the cold, sharp song of steel being drawn from its sheath. His eyes snapped open. The thin fabric of his tent offered no comfort, no barrier against the figures that surrounded him. He knew them. He knew them all. Kenshin, with the scar above his left eye from the battle at Kawa Pass. Haru, the young prodigy he himself had trained. Men he had shared meals with, laughed with, bled with. Brothers in arms, but the warmth of camaraderie was gone from their eyes, replaced by a chilling emptiness. Their blades, once his allies, were now aimed at his heart, eager and unforgiving. A single word hung in the air, spoken by Kenshin. His voice a tremor that betrayed the cold steel in his hand. Forgive us. The words were a plea, but also a sentence. The Lord has paid for your silence. Paid. The word echoed in the samurai's mind, a hammer blow to his soul. Their loyalty, their brotherhood, sold for a coin. A bitter laugh almost escaped his lips. He had faced down armies, stared into the eyes of demons on the battlefield, and never once felt fear. But this was different. The sharp point of a blade aimed at his throat was nothing compared to the agony of this betrayal. It was a wound that no armor could stop, a poison that seeped directly into the spirit. His heart, a warrior's heart that had never faltered, clenched in a fist of pure anguish. He didn't move. He simply looked at each of them, his gaze lingering, searching for a flicker of the men he once knew. He saw only ghosts, their honor already dead and buried. The betrayal was complete. It wasn't a battle for his life anymore. It was a trial for his soul. Slowly, his hand moved, not towards his own katana, but to the small wooden flute tucked into his sash. He had played it on lonely nights, its melody a comfort against the cold. Now, it would be his final defiance. He brought it to his lips. In the face of their blades, he would not offer them a fight. He would offer them a memory, a final, haunting tune of a brotherhood that was no more. As the first note, pure and sorrowful, pierced the night. The assassins hesitated. The melody was a lament, a story of shared victories and silent watches under starlit skies. It spoke of loyalty, sworn and promises made. It was the sound of their own broken honor. Haru's blade trembled, his knuckles white. Tears welled in Kenshin's eyes, mixing with the cold sweat on his brow. The Lord had paid for the samurai's silence, but he had not prepared them for his song. The music wove through the camp, a ghostly echo of what they had lost. Each note was a cut, deeper and more painful than any physical blade could have ever inflict. It was sent to kill a man, but with his final breath, he was unmaking them, forcing them to confront the true price of their treachery. The blood-red moon watched on, a silent witness to a betrayal that would haunt their souls for eternity. The legend of the Silent Blade would not end with his death, but with this final, heartbreaking song. The first strike was a blur of motion, a spearhead aimed straight for his heart. He moved like a shadow, twisting away from the deadly point. His katana hissed as it left its scabbard, a silver flash in the firelight. The blade met flesh, and a spray of crimson painted the night as the first attacker fell. His throat slit wide open. The battle had begun, but this was no ordinary fight. Before the body even hit the ground, another man charged, sword held high. The samurai didn't hesitate. His own blade met the incoming attack, not with a block, but with a fluid, devastating slice that severed the man's arm at the elbow. The scream tore through the air. It was quickly drowned out by the chaos erupting all around the camp. He spun, his movements a deadly dance. His katana cleaved through another attacker's jaw, fighting for his life, but he was also killing a part of himself. Every parry, every thrust, every fatal cut was a betrayal. He was a demon in the dark, bathed in the blood of his comrades, his heart screaming in silent agony, even as his body continued its grim, deadly work. The firelight flickered, reflecting in the pools of blood and in the single, desperate tear that traced a path through the grime on his cheek. The battle raged on, both on the bloody ground and within the shattered confines of his own heart. And against the searing heat of a burning cart, I could feel my own blood, warm and sticky, seeping through my armor. My vision swung, but one face came into focus through the smoke and chaos. It was him, a man I had shared the same with, a man I had thrown aside, a man I called brother. He stood before me, his blade trembling in his grip. For a fleeting, heart-stopping moment, I saw it in his eyes, a flicker of doubt, a ghost of regret. The chaos of battle seemed to fade into a muffled roar. In that bubble of silence, my voice, raw and broken, barely a whisper, escaped my lips. Why? The moment shattered. The regret vanished, replaced by a cold, hard resolve. He lunged. My training, my instincts, took over. There was no thought, only a devastatingly fluid motion. My own blade thrust upward, brutal, final answer to his advance. I felt the sickening slide of steel through flesh and bone, the resistance, then the release. He impaled himself on my sword. A torrent of crimson gushed from his chest, his eyes wide with a final, unreadable expression. He collapsed at my feet, a lifeless puppet whose strings I had just severed. A roar ripped from my throat, but it wasn't a cry of victory. It was a sound of pure, unadulterated anguish, a howl of a spirit being torn apart. One by one, the others fell, the traitors who'd once been my allies. When the last one hit the ground, an eerie silence descended upon the camp, broken only by the crackle and hiss of the raging fires. The flickering light danced across a grotesque landscape littered with the bodies of men I had once known. Rivers of blood snaked through the mud, gleaming darkly in the firelight. I stood alone amidst the carnage, the sole survivor of a self-inflicted massacre. My sword, an extension of my arm just moments before, now felt impossibly heavy, a leaden weight dragging me down into a chasm of despair. My spirit, once forged in the fires of discipline and honor, was shattered into a million pieces. In that desolate silence, a terrible clarity washed over me. Loyalty, bedrock of my existence, was as fragile as a cherry blossom in a storm. Honor, the code I lived and breathed, could be twisted and turned into a mockery. And trust was the sharpest blade of all, a weapon that could be handed to you, only to be plunged into your own back. And these gave way. I sank to the blood-soaked earth, surrounded by the ghosts of my comrades, my betrayers. I knelt among the dead, my lips moving in a silent, desperate prayer for the souls of the very men I had just slain. Hot tears streamed down my face, mingling with the blood and the dirt, a testament to the profound sorrow that had hollowed me out. As the first faint fingers of dawn began to stretch across the horizon, painting the smoke-filled sky in shades of bruised purple and blood red, I rose. I turned my back on the burning camp, on the pyre of my former life. My armor was drenched, my body wounded, with the deepest scars carved upon my heart. I walked away, carrying more than just the weight of betrayal. I carried the devastating knowledge that the path to becoming the legend I was destined to be would demand far more than just skilled with a blade. It would demand the strength to endure unimaginable heartbreak without surrendering the very honor that had been so cruelly used against me. The crimson dawn had baptized me in violence. The long night of betrayal had baptized me in sorrow. My journey was far from over. It had only just begun. Thanks for watching.